Hi everybody, welcome back to our YouTube channel. Today we are doing a little cooking lesson for you. Many of you have asked about my chicken crust pizza recipe because I guess it sounds interesting to have a chicken crust pizza. So I'm going to show you how I make our chicken crust pizza, and I will link the recipe in the comments because I don't necessarily follow a true recipe, and I'll explain why. So the first thing you need is ground chicken. Now you can get ground chicken at Walmart, or you can get this Jennie-O ground chicken at any store. Well, I would hope. I get mine at Fairway, but you may be able to find one at your local grocery store. During the first part of the pandemic, it sold out quite fast, but now they're getting it back in stock, so I'm pretty excited. We also need some oregano, some Parmesan cheese, black pepper, and I get Ragu pizza sauce. I like the homemade style, but really any pizza sauce can do. And then I also have green pepper, red pepper, and onions. And you know what? I did forget. I also have pepperoni. So obviously the toppings are going to be your choice. We tend to do just pepperoni, but I was really kind of in the mood for an all-veggie pizza tonight, so that's what we're having. So the first thing you want to do, once you have all your ingredients ready, is you want to preheat your oven to 425. Now you can use a pizza pan, or you can do what I did. I decided to try mine out on a cookie sheet today. Should taste the same either way, but you do want to line these with parchment paper so your chicken crust does not stick to the pan. I will tell you, when you bake the chicken, it's going to get a little watery, so just anticipate that that's going to happen. Now the first thing I do, and I did wash my hands, but I'm going to go ahead and open up my ground chicken and get that squeezed out. Now normally I would just use one package of ground chicken, but we do really like this recipe, so I think I'm going to make two separate pizzas tonight. As you can imagine, Kylie really doesn't like vegetables. So instead of trying to do half of a pepperoni pizza and half of a veggie pizza, I'm just going to make two. Which is, again, that's fine. We'll have leftovers. And we get that out of the package. All right. And there we go. Voila, chicken's out of the package. Put that with my stuff to throw away. And then that's when you're going to add your oregano and your black pepper. Now this is where the recipe doesn't come in handy for me because I love oregano. So I tend to add quite a bit of oregano to my recipe. I couldn't even tell you at this point what the actual recipe calls for. So if you like oregano, well, we'd be good friends because yeah, it's really good. So let me just grab a piece of paper towel real quick to wipe my hands off. And then as you can see, I just kind of willy-nilly added in there. And I may add in a little bit more. Pepper, again, that's subject to taste. I'm a pepper person, so I just kind of shake some in there. So kind of reminds me of some of the recipes my grandma made growing up. When we asked her for the recipe, she's like, yeah, I just throw stuff together. I'm like, okay, well, Grandma, that definitely really doesn't help me. But like I said, I will link the real recipe below. You can actually Google chicken crust pizza, and I'm just going to add some more oregano since I've already kind of mushed mine together. That way we just have a little bit more over the crust. And actually, my good friend Kelly Kruger, she had found this recipe on a bariatric cooking website, and she sent it to me, and I'm like, well, I'll try it. I'll try anything. And it actually turns out to be a recipe that everyone in the house likes, which is unusual. So I like to add in my seasoning and mix it up first, but you also want to add Parmesan cheese to your mixture, and that kind of helps solidify the chicken, so as you put it out for your crust, this kind of helps bind it together. Kind of like when you're making a meatloaf and you add breadcrumbs, or I don't know. I add breadcrumbs to mine, so whatever you add to bind it. So I usually get the big package of Parmesan just because I end up using a lot of it. And again, no measuring. Well, almost empty. So just kind of dumped it all in. And then you mix it up again. And yes, it feels gross. No grosser than a meatloaf, though. Alright. So I'm going to move that out of my way. Okay. We've got our parchment paper laid out. And parchment paper is not much fun when it doesn't want to stay put, so I always have to hold it down as I add my chicken. Now, if I had not doubled the recipe, I would have just put this on one pizza pan or one of these. But since I doubled the recipe, I'm going to make 2 separate batches. And basically all you're going to do is lay out your mixed ground chicken, pat it out until thin, but not thin enough that there's holes in it. So honestly, I always think, you know, if you like thin hamburgers, you're always going to want to have them as thin as possible, and that's what I like to do with my chicken. And as you can tell, it's not an exact science. Sometimes it does split. Now, I am not a Pinterest perfect person, so I'm going to tell you right now that my pizza is not going to come out looking pretty, but it tastes good. So that's all that matters to me. Now, I am going to mix up the other half on the other pizza pan. Oh, this isn't a pizza pan. Haha. It's baking sheet. So yes, I'm going to mix up the rest on the other baking sheet, and I'm going to put these in the oven for about 25 to 30 minutes. Now, as you cook chicken, just like when you ever cook chicken or you cook beef and you cook that in the oven, it is going to shrink. So, even if I had made a perfect crust, it's not going to come out perfect. So, we're going to finish the second pan and put these in the oven for 25 minutes. Take a look, make sure they look all right, and then we will add our toppings. So we're going to cook the crust first, and then while the crust is cooking, I am going to slice up my green pepper, my red pepper, and my mushrooms, so I can put that on my topping. So we're going to get this in the oven, and we're going to show you what it looks like when it comes out. You can also trim off some of this excess parchment paper if you'd like. Now I've got a little bit too much, but we're going to pick that, and I'm sorry, our oven is totally super dirty. Alright, and we're going to set our timer. I'm going to set it for 25 minutes, and 25 minutes we'll check and see what it looks like. It might be ready to go, come out and get toppings, but we'll see. So we'll see you back here with a nice golden pizza. All right. Ooh! Got a little bit of a pocket. I don't know if this is going to be ready. It looks like it's as done as I would like it. So obviously with the Parmesan cheese in there, the darker spots are going to be the where the cheese is kind of bubbled a bit. And like I said, there is some excess water or oil or whatever it is that comes out of a chicken. But if you can see, especially on this one, about right there, it still looks a little bit light. So when I cook the ground chicken, I expect it to look more less watery. And the fact that I can see a little bit watery, I think I probably about put it in for 5 more minutes. And that'll make sure. Now, obviously, it's going to cook a little bit more when we put on the toppings, but I'd rather have my chicken just done a little bit more. So I did 25 minutes. I think I'm going to do another 5. Now, while I was doing that though, while my stuff was cooking, I did go ahead and chop my vegetables. I have red pepper, green pepper, and mushrooms. Mushrooms are iffy for me. I really have to be in the mood for them to eat them. So I was just kind of in the mood for mushrooms tonight. So I have my sauce ready. I'm going to get a basting brush as well. A brush. I guess this isn't a basting brush. So I can spread this on when it's ready. And then I have mozzarella cheese I need to get out of the freezer to put on top. Okay, it's in the fridge. But I do have to get that out and put it on top. So give it 5 more minutes. And then it should be ready to put the toppings on. And that's so cute. Alright. Let's check this out. Oh, much better looking. Whew, you can smell it. Alright. There's pizza number 1. There's pizza number 2. Like I said, it did shrink like I said it would. Now, I like to get some of that excess water off, so I just kind of burn myself. No. I'm going to dab the chicken with a paper towel. Just get some of that water off. Throw it away. Now you can wait a couple, I mean, you don't have to put your toppings on right away. You can let it cool just a little bit. But I don't really think it makes a difference, to be honest with you. Alright. Now the great thing about making your own pizza is you are the artist. That means you get to decide how much sauce you like. Oops. A little bit more. Now just kind of get it all over, which is actually probably the smartest part of having parchment paper, is when you put too much sauce on it, it goes kind of over. Now normally, when I make just one batch, I have, I would say probably 3/4 of a can of ragu left over. So between these two, I probably used about a little more than half of a jar. And this is a 14-ounce jar. So yeah, this will last, and then I can make another chicken crust pizza later on. Now I will say, another little fun fact is, if you do not want to make a chicken crust pizza, you can actually make ground chicken, just like you were making like beef burgers. Cook it up in your skillet, and then add the pizza sauce and your toppings, and then make it as a casserole, which is another awesome option, especially if you don't want to take the time to pound out your chicken crust, which is a very good option when you get home a little bit late. Then you can just kind of skip that long step of baking the crust and then baking the toppings. Alright, so my pepperoni does not want to come out. So, again, Kim, the most impatient person on the planet, I'm just going to cut this open because I can actually just go back and put this in a Ziploc bag. So, I usually get regular pepperoni for this. I've tried turkey pepperoni, and it's okay. You know, you can also do turkey pepperoni. This is Hormel's original, but they also have one that's still pepperoni, but it's 25% less fat. And then you could also do turkey minis or pepperoni minis. You know, it just depends on how much carbs, fat, and stuff you want to cut out. Because obviously you're cutting out some carbs by doing your chicken crust. So we're just gonna layer both of our pizzas up because I think we're gonna do one full pepperoni. And I think this is the only time Kylie will actually eat a pepperoni pizza because she is generally a cheese girl. And you don't have to cover it all. But if we're gonna have pepperoni, we might as well have pepperoni, right? The downside is this pepperoni is very greasy. But let's finish up this. Now, when you make your next chicken crust pizza, let's say you have had your Ragu pizza sauce in the fridge, it really is not necessary to heat it up before you top it on your pizza. Really doesn't make that much of a difference. So, all right. So I've got my pepperoni. This is a smaller one, so I think that's going to be Kylie's pizza. So this one is going to be for me and Mark. So we will load this one up on vegetables, and there's really no easy way to do this. No, I'm not, like I said, I'm not a Pinterest person. So I'm just going to add this on here. Just try to make it cover everything, or cover the whole pizza. I used one full red pepper, one full green pepper, and then I went light on the mushrooms. I only used about 10 mushrooms, to be honest with you. And that's one thing, I do like mushrooms on my pizza, but it really creeps me out to cut them. So I've got my mozzarella cheese. Now I will say, I do better with a generic brand. I bought the Kraft mozzarella, and even though it says creamy on it, it does not melt well. So I use Fairway's brand of mozzarella cheese. It actually is really disappointing. A few years ago, Kraft actually had a pizza blend, which I'm pretty sure it was just mozzarella and cheddar, but it was like my favorite for this recipe. They don't sell it anymore. Alright, so we've got that one covered. And you know, again, I don't follow a recipe. I just put on as little or as much as I like. Now this is Kylie, so we're going to really give her some cheese. And then I think we'll just... we're about done with the package, so let's just finish off the package. So then what we're going to do is we're going to put this back in the oven for about 15 minutes. It gives a chance for your cheese to melt and your vegetables to kind of warm up and get that pepperoni baked in as well. And then it'll be ready to go. So generally this is a pretty, easy recipe. And I love that you can do whatever you want. Obviously you already have chicken on it, so you have a meat already. So you can be a meat lover and add Italian sausage, beef, onions, peppers, mushrooms, olives. I mean, that's like anything. And like I said, we have a tough time in this house getting Kylie to eat anything that we eat. And I know that's probably bad for an 11-year-old, but she eats this. So I think it's a great recipe if you have picky kids, but they like pizza. This is great, and they don't even have to know it's a chicken crust. So, better set that timer. All right, 15 minutes. The timer is set. I'm going to come back and check on it in a little bit, see how brown we're getting. And again, this is another thing. You bake it as long as you want. I like my cheese well done, so we're going to make sure that our cheese is above the brown before we take it out. See you in a bit. Time for the moment of truth. To see if this is ready or not. And actually I would say, since we didn't put that much cheese on the one with all the vegetables, I say that's pretty good. It's done. And then we've got this one. Again, this is just cheese and pepperoni. And this one is our hot vegetable mess. But it should be pretty tasty. So, there we go. And most likely that'll last probably 2 or 3 meals for Kylie, maybe more if she decides to eat leftovers. She's not a big leftover fan. This one, we'll see how long that lasts. So anyway, we hope you enjoyed our chicken crust recipe demonstration. We will link the recipe down below. And if you haven't already, please like, subscribe to our channel. As you can tell, we just do a hodgepodge of everything. I don't cook very often, at least with this much ingredients. So this is probably one of my larger recipes I do. Otherwise, we're pretty simple. So thanks for watching. See you later. Now it's time to eat.